Hi guys, I'm Abhay. So I have pursued my bachelor's in management studies from Delhi University, and post that I had 18 months of work experience, and now I'm here at IIM Kozhikode. I still clearly remember my IIM Lucknow interview. My IIM Lucknow interview happened very early in the month of January, and as soon as I stepped into the cabin where the two panelists were looking at me, right, and one of the panelists apparently didn't speak the entire interview, while the other panelist was kind of playing a game with me, where like he asked me for my graduation mark sheet, and then he was scrolling his finger through all the subjects that were listed, while the other panelist randomly asked him to stop, and then he used to ask me some random questions out of those two subjects that they asked. I was completely blank, to be very honest. So, IIM Lucknow interview was pretty much academic centric, and towards the end of the interview, I still remember that line quote that if this is your level of preparation, then you are not going to make it to any of the top 6 IIMs. And to be honest, I was completely shattered at that point of time. But then again, it was an eye opener for me, a good learning lesson that yes, I need to be more prepared for my upcoming interviews. And yes, that was my IIM Lucknow interview experience. I can't forget those dates. I mean, 4th of February was the date when my IIM Bangalore interview mail came, and 10th February was my interview. So I just had 6 days to, particularly prepare for the interview. And yes, IIM Bangalore was one of my best calls, and I was really excited for the interview. I put a lot of efforts in the remaining 6 days that I had. Also, one more thing that IIM Bangalore usually do is that your interview mostly revolves around the SOP. So most of the panelists were very much focused towards the SOP. They would go through each and every point that you have mentioned. So I mentioned a few projects that I did during my college days, some points related to my work experience. So they'll pick up the keywords and they'll ask you that how did you go about this? What all things you made sure to successfully execute that project. One thing that I really remember from my Bangalore interview was that there was a question they asked. It was a situational based question, apart from the introduction, normal questions that they asked. This was an interesting question that let's say you are the CEO of a company and one of your top most performing employees have to go on a paternity leave for 3 months. So, being in the shoes of a CEO, will you allow him to go or not? What will be your decision? So I clearly remember saying that yes, obviously, I would give him the paternity leave because he deserves it. And I clearly believe that growing up a child is not the responsibility of just a single parent or a mother. The father should also be equally responsible towards that. And I quoted an example to support my point where I said that when there was an India Australia test series that happened in Australia and Virat had to go on his paternity leave, and he just played the first test and the remaining 3 tests were captained by the other team player. And Virat was apparently the best performer in the team, but then he had to go. And India, in fact, lost that very first test match where Virat captained. But instead, India ended up winning the series by 2-1. So it clearly states that yes, not just one person cannot impact the entire team or an organization. So even if that top performing employee of mine goes away, I still believe that yes, the entire organization will work good despite him not being in the present. So that was one of the good incidents that I remember from my IIM Bangalore interview. So IIM Shillong interview, there was so I mentioned one of my hobbies and interest as reading about Indian politics, and they picked up that question and they asked that can you differentiate between right wing and left wing, and they went into a little depth of it. So apparently I was very happy because I knew the difference and I was able to clearly state it. So yes, they can ask you questions revolving around your interests. So whenever you are listing something down, make sure that you really know about it rather than not just doing it for the sake. Well, I guess there was this one question that strikes my mind right now. It was IIM Indore's interview, and they asked me that let's say if you have to. So I belong from Kanpur, and they asked me that if you have to travel from Kanpur to Indore, what all cities and what all stations will come in between. So, and they asked me two different questions: that if you take the train route, then what all cities will come, and if you take the flight route, then what all cities you will pass through. And apparently, the train route and the flight route differs to a certain extent. So that yes, that was an interesting question, and hopefully I was prepared for it because I have also heard from my seniors that these kind of questions usually are being asked. So this was asked in both IIM Indore and Kozhikode that if you travel from Kanpur to Kozhikode and to Indore, what all cities you will be covering.
So we must say like it was coincidence that both of the IIMs asked the root questions.
Yes, and I was pretty happy that I was able to answer them. Well, my K interview was like a dream come true because Everything that I prepared for the K interview, I think all of it was asked. I went through the Kotler, I went through the history of Kotler, I went through the history of my birthplace, and all these things were asked during my K interview. Although there was this one question that was asked towards the end of the interview, and it just came out of a surprise. And the question was that what are Ivy League colleges, and what is like how this Ivy League colleges was named, what was the origin of the Ivy League college name. And I was taken aback because I really didn't have any idea. Although I knew what Ivy League colleges were and what all colleges were there, but I couldn't really frame that why it was named as Ivy. And I just said that no, sir, I don't really know. And the answer that the professor gave was that Ivy basically, when it was established, it had four colleges, and when you write four in Roman, it's like IV. So it basically over the period of years, over the years, it got translated to IVY. So it is how Ivy League was named. I belong to a business family and I've seen my parents working in a business. I really wanted to learn the nitty-gritties of business and management. That's why I chose BMS as a course. Initially, I had no plans of doing an MBA because I was like, okay, BMS is more than enough for me to, get the sufficient knowledge and education that I would require to maybe run my own startup or do something good. But then over the years, I did realize that after my work experience, MBA is something that's going to help me. And transitioning from BMS to MBA was basically, so BMS teaches you similar subjects that are also being taught at MBA, but then BMS gives a superficial knowledge of all these subjects. While you're pursuing your MBA from a top IIM, these subjects you can go deep dive into. Like my interest has always been into marketing, so I took a specialization of marketing in the final year of my BMS, and hopefully I'm going to take electives related to marketing and strategy only in the coming up year. So the subjects that were taught to me in marketing, some of them were like consumer behavior, retail management, advertising and sales, and all these subjects will be taught in detail and in depth with more of a practical exposure, case studies revolving around the same. So yes, this is one of the advantages of transitioning from BMS to MBA, because then again you get to deep dive into these subjects and you get to learn about it in more detail. In my IIM Bangalore interview, in the SOP, I mentioned somewhere that I like to create content on LinkedIn on a regular basis and talk about marketing and entrepreneurship. So I remember there was a question from the interviewer about creator economy, that what do you think about it? And I just answered that yes, creator economy is the future. Most of the things nowadays are on social media, and it's very important for you to have a personal brand for yourself so that people recognize you and the efforts that you put into your content can be read around the world. He said that since I had experience of writing on LinkedIn, so I can relate that yes, LinkedIn is a great platform for you to create a personal brand of yours, talk about the interests that you have, and then I guess this gives you an upper edge over other candidates also, because they will see that yes, you have been putting in efforts into some passive thing as well while you are doing your full-time job. So yes, that is what they asked me during the interview. My MDI interview happened somewhere around towards the end of March, and I already had my IIM Kozhikode interview, which went really well according to me. So I was a little chilled out for my MDI interview, and it happened online. Plus, it was the shortest interview out of all the 7-8 interviews that I appeared for. Like it just went on for around 7 or 8 minutes at a max, and there were like three panelists on the screen. So they mostly asked questions about my introduction and then a few questions related to my academics background and everything. But one question that was really interesting was some random case-based puzzle. It was like, okay, so the question was that you have to cross a river, and the river has different depths across it. Plus, there are sharks in the river. So you have three tools: mean, median, and mode. How would you cross the river? Now, at that very moment, I was a little stuck because I didn't know exactly what to give the answer. But then one thing caught my attention was the fact that it was a river and there were sharks in it. So I just said it out loud that I don't believe that sharks would survive in a river. I am probably assuming that they are dead. So I don't really need to calculate any of the thing. I will just swim across the river and cross it. Yeah, so there was a fun laughter from their end, but then they again came up to me and they were like, okay, just if you have to choose something, what would you do? So I said median, because I felt that maybe different depths can be calculated the median, and then the shortest difference between the median and different depths can be calculated, and accordingly I can just cross the river. So yeah, I mean that was very random, but I ended up converting MDI Gurgaon. One thing that I personally did was to create an autobiography of yourself. So what I did was that right from class 5th or 6th standard, I just picked out each and every incident that had happened in my life, be it a small little competition, be it my interests, hobbies, and right from my 5th to 6th standard to class 12th, and then my college days, then my work experience. So I narrated each and everything, and it went on for like 12-15 pages on the laptop. And then after you have completed your autobiography, you can just go through all the things that you have listed down, and then you can think from an interviewer's mindset that what questions can they ask me if they have all these data with them. So that was one of the tricks that I used, and it really helped me throughout the interview process. Plus, one thing that I would like to give an advice to all of you is that first of all, be confident whenever you are appearing for any interview, because confidence is a must. You should show that yes, you deserve this seat, you deserve this place, that's why you are here right now, and those 15-20 minutes gonna define a lot of things for the coming 2 years. So just be yourself, be confident, trust the process, and keep on working hard, keep on working on your academics, because academics is an important part. Most of the interview questions will be asked around academics, your interests, your hobbies, and then you have to have a very good presence of mind at that point during the interview, because very situational based question, case based questions can be asked, and you really need to be on your toes that yes, you can answer anything. Something smart, something innovative will actually help you out during the process. Plus, one last advice that I'd like to give you all is that keep seeking help from your friends, from your mentors, from your teachers, because they are a very important aspect in our life, and they really keep you motivated, because there will be times when you will feel demotivated, disheartened, that maybe your 1 or 2 interviews might not go very good at the start, just like my IIM Lucknow interview didn't go really well, but it would be a learning lesson for you. You need to get back stronger from there, and you need to ace the other interviews. So, and at the end of the day, you're not going to go and sit in 8 and 9 colleges, you're just going to make it to one good college. So honestly, that one interview out of any of the top 6, top 10 interviews that I've got is going to define your next 2-3 years of your life.
So that is it for today, guys. I hope you are enjoying this series of videos in which different kind of people are sharing their PI experiences. So the motive behind these videos are not to show you with the top percentilers, but to show you with different profiles and their PI experiences, so that you can relate your profile with them and you can analyze the questions being asked from your profile. So I hope I am fulfilling the purpose of serving you, to helping you, to guide you. I am receiving many mails, and I think Instagram DMs, Telegram messages, and thank you for believing in me. Thank you for believing in the channel. And yes, I hope if you are coming to Kozhikode or by any day, we'll meet. One more request, just please share the videos with someone who is needy and you think that I am working for you. So please don't forget to subscribe the channel, and for latest update and many such videos, keep following me.